In April 2025, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu traveled to the United States, US and held meetings with President Donald Trump, only returned from the official trip and intensified more aggressive military campaigns in Gaza and staged a military confrontation with Iran, which led to the killing of almost 1,000 Iranians in a 12-day war with the Islamic country. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his cabinet members that he will travel to the US next week to hold very important security meetings with President Donald Trump and the US lawmakers amongst others, while specifically telling the cabinet members that the details of the scheduled meetings are things he cannot reveal at the briefing. According to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, "I am due to leave next week for meetings in the US with US President Donald Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, the President's envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, the Commerce Secretary. We have several items to close beforehand in order to reach the trade agreement, and several additional matters, meetings with congressional and Senate leaders and security meetings which I will not detail here. These come in the wake of the great victory that we achieved in Operation Rising Lion. Taking advantage of the success is no less an important part of achieving the success. On two issues, I would like to thank you, ministers of the government. You are doing the work, you have done, and are doing, critical work to realize these achievements. Of course, I would like to expedite the rebuilding, which includes almost all, if not all, of the ministries here. I think that there is great value in this, that there should be a unification of forces here. This finds expression among the people, but also in the government and the Knesset. I must also say something about the opposition, which during the great challenge, lined up, almost all of them. This is important and I hope that it will be preserved as a compass for the future. In any case, each and every one of you has my gratitude for the exceptional cooperation and for the excellent work. Thank you very much. While the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu meeting at the Koya in Tel Aviv, with the IDF General Staff Forum, together with Defense Minister Israel Katz and IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir, the Prime Minister commended the Major Generals of the IDF for their part in Operation Rising Lion in Iran and thanked them for their contribution to ensuring the eternity of Israel. Personally, I would like to express immense appreciation and gratitude to you Defense Minister Israel Katz, to you IDF Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir and to you, the members of the General Staff Forum for perfectly executing the missions that we set. A people that rises up as a lion, and much more. Over the centuries of our exile, the Jewish people lost the ability to oppose those who attacked it. We became as a leaf driven in the wind, a people that experienced exile, pogroms, murders and, in the end, the worst act of murder in history. When the fathers of Zionism arose approximately 130 years ago, most of them did not think that the attacks on the Jewish people would end with the establishment of the State of Israel, but that we would formulate the diplomatic and military force to oppose these attacks. This is the line that separates between the generations of Jewish history and what has happened in our generation, the establishment of the state and the IDF. In Iran, a threat was created for us that was no less strong and perhaps even greater than the pan-Arab threat at its peak, and it still threatens us. 40 years ago, and certainly 35 years ago, I thought that the greatest danger to humanity was the link between nuclear weapons and an Islamist regime, or the link between an Islamist regime and nuclear weapons. But Iran did not suffice with this because, in effect, they built three axes of annihilation. First, the noose, a plan for the annihilation of Israel by means of an axis. The second, a plan for the annihilation of Israel by means of a missile threat. And the third, a plan for the annihilation of Israel by means of a nuclear threat. This is the raison d'etre of the regime. This is not the only reason why they want to annihilate us and we are not their main objective. But in order to realize the main objectives, they must get rid of us. It is impossible to conquer the Middle East without annihilating Israel. And if there is no Israel, the Middle East collapses immediately. The state of Israel was like a person who has two cancerous tumors. One was the nuclear threat and the second was the missile threat. If you do not excise them, you die. It could be that you excise them and they return, like you treat cancer. But if you do not excise them, we die. Therefore, there was no question here. We had to make this decision, and the way in which it was made, unanimously by the political echelon, and unanimously by the IDF command, under your outstanding leadership, which improved exceptionally on a daily and weekly basis. The question arose regarding the US, and I told you that we would do everything to get them on board, but this was not a condition. It was not a condition. But none of this would have been possible without the intensive and superb operation that will be etched in the history of our people, and, in my view, in the history of the world, certainly in the military history, which I believe everyone will come to study. This has major implications for our economy. We are already feeling it, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu stated. We have reported that the United States, US President, Donald Trump has accused members of the Israel House of Assembly, known in Hebrew word as Knesset, of apparent politically witch-hunting the Israel Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, with corruption case President Trump had described as nothing but political witch hunt, saying, the Knesset prosecutors should let Benjamin Netanyahu go, that, he's a war hero who have worked with the US to eliminate Iran nuclear threats, and currently he has a big job to do with negotiations of peace deals with Iran and Hamas, stressing in a question manner how possible is it for the Israel Prime Minister to sit in court all day long. The Prime Minister lawyer had filed a 2-week delay of the case, citing national security demands following the 12-day Israel-Iran war, but the court sitting in Jerusalem rejected the application on Friday, and Benjamin Netanyahu, who has spent 20 years as Israel Prime Minister, was expected to be in court on Monday for cross-examination in the corruption case that started with police investigation in 2016 and the court trial commenced in 2020. But a report from some foreign media quoting the Prime Minister political party, Likud, a few hours ago indicated that the court on Sunday has postponed the case and cancelled it from holding this week. Similarly, some members of the Knesset had accused the Prime Minister of trying to use the regional war with Hamas, Hezbollah and Iran to secure end to the corruption charges. We had reported that thousands of mourners on Saturday put on mostly black and black clothes and rallied from Enghalab Square to Azadi Square in Tehran, the Iranian state capital, to honor the country's top military commanders, nuclear scientists, 4 little children and 4 women among the hundreds of people killed during the 12 days war the Islamic country had with Israel and the United States, US, with the mourners chanting anti-US and Israel songs, while the Iran Supreme Leader, Ali Khamenei, was not seen at the funeral, with reports indicating that he has remained out of public space and still taking cover in a well-secured hideout since, on Tuesday, the ceasefire between the two countries had been brokered, and the cynosure of many eyes at the state funeral ceremony was the arrival and appearance of 2 top senior Iranian military officers previously declared killed by Israel, Ali Shamkhani, senior advisor to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, and Esmail Khani, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC Quds Force, which Israel Defense Forces, IDF, had claimed to have assassinated with an airstrike on the 13th of June 2025 during the start of the Iran-Israel war. However, Iranian state media contradicted the IDF report on the 20th of June that the officials are still alive, and they were in stable condition after recovering from severe injuries from the strike. We had reported that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has listed what the troops of Operation Rising Lions achieved in a 12-day war with the Islamic Republic of Iran, stating that Israel will now pursue the path of making peace with nations in the Middle East and compensate those that suffered damages, specifically stating that all the buildings destroyed by Iran ballistic missiles will be rebuilt anew by the Israeli government for the victims, adding that, without the immense achievements in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, and against the said terrorism in Judea and Samaria, Israel would not have been able to reach Tehran, made the statement on Tuesday evening after Iran President Masoud Pezeshkian announced an end to the 12 days tense and frightening military campaigns that the United States, led by President Donald Trump, took side with Israel and officially and openly got itself involved in the war on Saturday 2025, when U.S. special military troops flew several B-2 bombers, fighter jets, and attacked 3 Iranian cities of Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, with allegations that the Iranian nuclear facilities in the cities have been destroyed, allegations several media reports and authorities in Tehran have dismissed. But in retaliation to the U.S. invasion of the Iranian territory, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, launched 6 missiles into Qatar on Monday with the intention to destroy U.S. military base in the Qatari capital of Doha known as U.S. Al Udeid Air Base. But, according to Qatar state media, Doha News, all the missiles were intercepted. We had reported that the head of the Christian Catholic Church, Pope Leo XIV, has appealed to all actors involved in the ongoing war in the Middle East and beyond to end the battles because, according to the Pope, war only amplifies or creates more problems, and no amount of military victory can compensate the pains of mothers, the stolen futures and the fear of children, emphasizing that war does not solve problem. We had reported that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has commended President Trump of the United States, U.S. over the night attack the U.S. military for the first time for years carried out on Iranian cities of Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, saying, like him and President Trump do say that peace comes through strength, the U.S. troops acted with a lot of strength while bombing the nuclear facilities in the 3 cities of Iran. We had reported that the United States, U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed that the U.S. military troops have attacked nuclear facilities in the Iranian cities of Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan on Saturday night, June 21, 2025, according to U.S. local time of Pacific Standard Time, PST, which was already early morning night on Sunday, June 22, 2025 for countries on Greenwich Mean Time, GMT, saying, the U.S. military attacks on Iran was completely successful, as White House published photographs of President Trump and his cabinet members said to be watching the U.S. operations in Iran nuclear sites, although no authority in Iran has issued any statement over the attacks, and some of the media in Iran are yet to give update on the conditions of things in the 3 cities, but an apparent military insider, media of Iran Armed Forces, Daily Iran Military, tweeted that residents in the vicinity of Fordo reported no indication of a major explosion, while also adding that the deputy political editor of Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting, IRIB, was on live TV program in the station saying Iran has already evacuated 3 nuclear sites some time ago. This, Israel Defense Forces, IDF, earlier on Saturday night posted an aerial view recorded video of the Israeli troops bombing a location said to be Isfahan nuclear site facility, said the Iranian uranium enrichments reconversion were taking place. We had reported that 22 persons suspected to be spies have been arrested in the Iranian province of with an apparent military insider, media that operate with a verified social media handle, Iran Armed Forces, stating that the 22 individuals were linked to Israeli intelligence services, and police authority in according to AFP, confirmed the arrest of the 22 persons the police said are Israeli spies. This, Israel Defense Forces, IDF, in a statement issued on Saturday morning, said that Israeli troops in a precise attack killed the commander of the Palestine Corps of the Quds Force, Saeed Azadi, in We had reported that the India Ministry of External Affairs, in a statement issued on Tuesday, says the government of India has moved India students in Tehran out of the Iranian capital city due to safety concerns following the continuous exchange of air bombardments between Israel and Iran, while at the same time, the government of India advised other citizens in Tehran that can afford their own transport fare to leave the Iranian capital city immediately, adding that some citizens of India have been evacuated out of Iran completely through the border with Armenia. The India Embassy in Israel had on Sunday advised persons of India origin not to move unnecessarily in Tel Aviv, and they should obey safety instructions from the Israeli authorities and Home Front Command. We had reported that the ongoing military campaigns between Israel and Iran on Monday did not spare journalists as the Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting IRIB building in Tehran was hit by Israeli missile, with the Israel Defense Forces IDF saying that the media was one of the Israeli military targets to block the military communications of Iran armed forces, which the Iran armed forces immediately retaliated with ballistic missiles fired into Israel. And IDF in a statement issued late hours on Monday confirmed that millions of Israeli residents are currently running into bomb shelters with air raid sirens sounding across several places in Israel. A video currently trending on social media showed the TV host, Sahar Amami, fleeing the studio when the station was hit by a missile during a live broadcast. Although there are reports from Iran that the state media resumed normal operations minutes after the attack, but there are unconfirmed reports that some journalists were killed in the attack as part of the building was completely on fire. This international news agency, Reuters, put the total deaths recorded so far since the war began on Friday at 248, quoting Iranian source of Iran suffering 224 deaths, and Israeli source saying Israel has recorded 24 deaths. We had reported that not less than 100 persons, mostly civilians, have been confirmed dead less than 48 hours since, on Friday early morning night, Israel and Iran began new massive waves of offensive military campaigns that have forced commercial airplanes to avoid the troubled Middle East airspace as the two countries fly missiles of mass destruction in the air corridors, with local media confirming Iran ballistic missile killed 10 persons and injured more than 20 others at a single building struck at Bat Yam city in Israel as the angry Iranian soldiers launched a massive, all-night continuous air bombardments campaign against the state of Israel that earlier on Friday began the new offensive military campaign when it flew fighter jets to strike Iranian military homes, nuclear weapon facilities, killing Iran nuclear weapons scientists, military leaders including Iranian Chief of Staff and Commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, IRGC, alongside almost 60 civilian death casualties. This, President Donald Trump of the United States, U.S. in a statement issued on Friday shortly after Israeli attack via his personal verified social media handle on his own Truth social media platform, praised and boasted about the military strength and capability of Israel, saying, "Things will only get worse for Iran because he gave them a chance to make a deal but they ignored the chance," adding with some level of mockery that the Iranian hardliners who spoke bravely are now dead as a result of the Israel attack on Iran, saying with emphasis that the US produces the best lethal military equipments anywhere in the world, and Israel already has a lot of the US military leather equipments, adding that Israel knows how to use the weapons and more will be giving to them. And in another statement issued also through the Truth social media platform on Saturday shortly after the unprecedented military parades to mark the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States Army, President Donald Trump threatened to unleash the full strength and might of the U.S. armed forces to attack Iran at a level never seen before if Iran dare attack U.S. in any way, shape or form, claiming that the U.S. had nothing to do with the Israeli attack on Iran. Reacting earlier, Iran's Supreme Leader, Imam Saeed Ali Khamenei, said Iran will retaliate Israeli attack with a strong response of no mercy, just as Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said Israeli attack on Tehran on Friday killed military commanders, nuclear scientists, women and children, while wishing President Donald Trump and U.S. armed forces happy birthday on Saturday. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu alleged that Iran made an attempt to assassinate President Donald Trump twice, adding that Israel attacked the military and nuclear facilities in Tehran on Friday because Iran was building intercontinental nuclear weapons that could be used to destroy Israel and any other country in the world.
Osasua Radio, bringing you the news in a more digital way.